Would you give God a round of applause? I need to come out of this, please. Just give God a round of applause. Tell somebody, it's still your season. I like to speak words of encouragement. You don't know the last time someone was encouraged. You have to speak words of encouragement. I speak a life to my road. Speak life to your neighbor in spite of what it looks like. Your baby Cheetah, thank you so much. Thank you for your kindness. Last week, we spoke about how consecration will prep you, how it prepares you. Last week was our prep week. This week, I want to deal with what it means to be planted, the position of consecration. For those of you who are in the room, let's just a reminder of what the word consecration means. It means to be set apart. The word there, apart, means separate for God's exclusive use. The word consecration, to be set apart, separate for God's exclusive use. Remember we talked about last week that consecration is a deliberate act. It is a choice. You cannot accidentally consecrate. You have to make a decision. You have to make a deliberate decision concerning consecration. One of the highlights of consecration does not distance you from God. It removes the distance between you and God. When you consecrate, you are becoming closer to God. Most believers do not struggle with belief. They struggle with closeness. I believe God is real. I believe he can do it. But there are moments, I don't see who will be honest right here, where I don't feel close to him. I don't feel like he is hearing me. I don't feel like he is seeing me. So the struggle is not belief. We believe God to be real. He is merciful, mighty. He is a healer. But I don't feel close enough to God to experience what I know he's good at. So consecration, good God, that thing was blessed. Consecration will bring you closer to God so you can experience what he's good at. Consecration is how closeness is cultivated. We talked about this last week, that consecration will prepare you for your promise, prepare you for better and more intimate relationship with God. This week we're talking about prep. Last week was our prep week. This week we're talking about plant. So I want to give you a definition. The word plant, what we're talking about tonight, the word that I'm talking about, the word plant, is to fix or place something in a specific position. When we talk about planting tonight, it is about being placed in a specific position. Real consecration will put you in a real and different location concerning God. Anyone in this room who struggled in their 2025, feeling unsatisfied about where you were with God, I mean sad about what it looked like he wasn't doing. You feel disconnected, not just from him, but from his voice and from his instruction. You need to be planted. This is why we are on this consecration. You need to be planted because you will find yourself in a new position with God after this consecration. Psalm chapter 1, verse 3, it says, "And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water that brings forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither." This is the prophecy. "And whatsoever he doth shall prosper." When you are planted, it gives you the opportunity to bear fruit. When you are planted, consecration will plant you. It puts you in a certain position. It gives you the opportunity to bear fruit. The only way to bear fruit is to be planted. You cannot think that God's going to do something and you're not in the right position to receive it. Remember this. This is what we're prophesying to ourselves as we are walking through this consecration. That as I remain planted, as consecration plants me, I am going to bring forth fruit. Bear fruit there is the word for demonstration, right? So as I'm planted, I'm going to bear fruit. It means that I am going to see demonstration. I am going to see proof of not only what God said, but who he is. And I don't know about anybody else, but that is the objective. I want to see proof of who God is. I walk into healing because he's a healer. So if I am tapped into who God is, I automatically have access to all the things concerning who he is. So we bear fruit. It's going to be a way to see demonstration and proof. Proof of what you believe, proof of the God that you serve, and what he can do. You bear fruit, according to the Bible, the fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. I'm going to do it one more time. These are the fruits that we're going to bear during our consecration. The fruits of the Spirit: you are going to bear fruits of love. You're going to bear fruit of joy, of peace, of kindness, of patience, of goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Positioning will make you grow. Consecration will position you, and position you will make you grow. One of the things that you are going to see is that you are going to become a different person as you consecrate. You are going to become a better person. Said this last week: the only person who is not seeking to be better is someone who is complacent with where they are. But we have gathered with recognizing, God, you are good, and there is still too much about me that needs to be fixed. And in order for it to be fixed, I must be planted in your presence. I cannot resist where you are. So consecration will make you grow. One of the most important things for planting is right soil. When you are making a decision to consecrate, you are choosing the right soil to grow in. It is you saying to God, I don't want you to bless random ground. Your consecration says, I need you. I want you to intentionally plant me. We are going after, throughout this consecration, the intentionality of God. Why is that important? Because when you go after the intentionality of God, you replace the opinions of man. There are some of us who have been born into things that speak into who we should be. But when you replace that with the intentionality of God, you become who God has called you to be. And many of us have to break those curses from where we were born, our bloodlines, our generations. We have to break that stuff. And the only way we can break that stuff is if we plant ourselves in the intentionality of God. And that's what consecration will do. I don't know about you, but I want to be found in the intentionality of God, because it becomes a covering to me. It becomes a help to me, that no matter what I'm feeling, when I'm aligned with the intentionality of God, there is better purpose. Jesus tells a parable in Matthew chapter 13. Write that down. Read it when you go home. The parable of the sower. Jesus tells us that a sower goes to plant seed. He says some seed fell on the wayside, and it was devoured by fowls. Some seed fell on stony ground, and it didn't have enough to connect to the earth and didn't grow. Some seed was unprotected and burned by the sun. Some seed, the Bible says, was choked out by thorns. But here's where we shout. The Bible says that some seed fell on good ground. And because that seed fell on good ground, watch what happened. The Bible says it brought forth fruit. Some 100-fold, some 60-fold, and some 30-fold. Consecration is you planting your seed in good ground. I am no longer planting my seed in what I've been through. I am no longer planting my seed in my toxic environment. I am planting my seed in God. God is good ground to plant your seed. You are taking it back from stony ground. When you consecrate, you are taking your seed back from hard places. You are taking your seed back from unprotected spaces. When you are consecrating, you are taking your seed back from shallow places, and you are saying, God, I trust you. I'm putting my seed in good ground. I'm putting my seed in good ground. I'm positioning myself to grow. Here's what we have to understand. Soil, Maureen, it matters. That's what consecration is. It's saying my position, where I'm planting myself, it matters. It is not just about what's in me, but where I put myself. Here's what I want to ask you. Write this down. You answer this in your own private reflection time. Is, do you have a soil issue? I know there's a lot in you. I get that you are talented, gifted, you are anointed to do great things. But have you been planted? Or do you have a soil issue? And if you have been planted, take a moment to be reflective and say, where have you been planted? Some of us have been planted. We are still planted in our past. That's why we have no tie to a future, because I planted myself in my past. I only see what I've done. I've only seen, and you know the thing I'm finding as I talk and counsel people is they sit down with me and they talk to me about things that have happened to them 10, 15 years ago. We haven't moved forward at all. We've allowed church culture, we've allowed what people think about us to keep us planted in the hate of our trauma, of our past. But in this season, as we're consecrating, I'm correcting my soil issue. I'm replanting myself in good ground. Without consecration, where are you planting? If I don't consecrate myself, what does the soil around me look like? Being planted, also, first thing we want to talk about was soil, right? Making sure that we are checking the soil. Where are you planted? Being planted during consecration will also, and this is not going to be a nice thing, but we'll talk about it for a second, it positions you for pruning. When you're planted, you will be pruned. This is what the word prune means. It means to cut away dead or unuseful stuff. The Bible says in John chapter 15, verse 2, Jesus calls himself the true vine. He says in the next verse, every branch in me that beareth not fruit, he will take away. And every branch that bears fruit, he purges it, that it may be made more fruit. Consecration will plant you for pruning. Here's the idea, that if you are so submitted to God that you are willing to have stuff cut out of your life. I love God so much that even if there are things that I'm familiar with, if it offends God, if it offends my soil, I will subject myself to be pruned. I love God so much, watch this, that even if it feels good to my flesh, I am willing to be pruned. Even if it feels good to my emotions, because a lot of the stuff we go through, it satisfies our emotional trauma. I sit in stuff because it makes me feel good about being sad. God help me. It makes me feel good about being depressed. But I am making the decision that as I am consecrating, I am allowing God to cut me. Can I tell you, we grew up with this understanding that everything that's good, it comes with a cost. It costs you to be in good ground. It costs you to be anointed. We think because we could just read, or if you YouTube enough sermons that you got it. But you gotta be pruned. Every time you look up and you realize that there is still too much of you in you, it deserves to be cut. And some of us are living in that season. I was talking to someone the other day. I'm not good with these because I usually say names, so let me just take my time. I was talking to someone the other day, and a name came up, and I found myself going right back into the emotion of how that person hurt me. And I said I'm so bad at that. I said to them, you know what, let's not talk about this. Because it's a place that I'm in the process of being cut away from me. And if I sit here too long, that thing will take root in me. And I'll find myself angry about stuff that I was convinced I was already healed from. I have got to submit, help me. I've got to submit with being pruned. God, cut those feelings out of me. I don't want to, every time I see this person have these feelings rise up, I need God to help me. That's what pruning is. Pruning is help. I need God to help me. Pruning is a way for God to preserve you and keep you. When you are pruned, it takes care of your value. Watch this, this hurts. But cutting away makes that plant more valuable. Got it. Because there's no dead pieces. Thank you, Lord. Too many of us came into this year with too much of our still old self in us. You gotta be pruned. You gotta be cut. And it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt your ego. It's going to hurt your relationships. People are going to say to me that you're acting funny. I'm not acting funny. I've been pruned. My consecration has placed me, and there are some things that have been cut around me, cut out of me, cut off of me. There's some hurt that has been cut off of me. And as it gets cut, it improves your value. Consecration removes things that drain you and keep you from life. Right? Write that down. You may love somebody, but you ever notice that every time you leave their presence, you are completely exhausted? There are some places that you go, I believe that God's going to change your appetite, and what used to entertain you is going to annoy you. That's what consecration does. It'll make locations different for you. And that's what we want to aim. That's the aim for today. I'm improving my value, and my consecration, me being pruned, me being placed, is going to remove things in my life that are draining me and keeping me from living my best life. I'm going to be consecrated, going to improve my value, but also start me in the space of bearing fruit. The text says, the last part of the text, it says that it may bring forth more fruit. Watch this. So pruning helps you to bring forth more fruit. It's not just about what's already here. It's not just about what you can do. But as you are pruned, it gives space for there to be an unlocking of more. You don't believe this, but there is more in you than what you've been through. There's more in you than who you are right now. Even if you are gifted, you are smart, you are talented, can I tell you, you've only scratched the surface of what God has intended for you? And if you can submit to a cutting, you can submit to bearing more fruit. Consecration positions you for water. As you're consecrated, as we are being planted, we find ourselves in a position where we can find nourishment. You can have good seed, you can be in good soil, but if there's no water, you will kill it. Seed needs water to grow. Consecration puts you in a position, puts you in a place where you will find the need to flourish. Psalm 1, verse 3, it also talks about planting by rivers of water. That's what the text says. You are in the right place when you are consecrated, when you are being planted. You are in the right place for consistent resource. When you are planted, you don't have to chase refreshment. When you are planted, you find water. I don't have to search for someone to place me on a platform. I don't have to search to be loved. I don't have to search to find my place. When I am consecrated, when I am planted, water finds me. And that's what a lot of us are in trouble right now because we are seeking after things that God is saying, if you just plant yourself in me, I will bring you every relationship. I will bring you job opportunities. I will bring you wealth, but you have to be placed next to the resource. You are in the right place for a consistent resource when you are being planted. When you are planted, you don't have to chase refreshment. You stay planted, you will find water. Dryness in your life isn't always about an attack. If there is something off in your life, sometimes it's about misplacement. If there are dry places in your life, is there a misplacement present in your life? You are so distant from God that you can't be positioned. Here's what I love about consecration. Write this down. Consecration aligns you, realigns you with position. It puts you in a place of consistent water. Healthy plants don't survive off of occasional rain. When you are planted, when you are consecrated, it brings you in a place of consistency. It means that I have the opportunity, and we do this a lot, is we keep having encounters with God. Occasional things, when something is wrong, or when I need God, or when I'm sad, I had a bad day at work, you show up to prayer, or you had a bad weekend and you want us to lay hands on you. That's occasional. But we need people who will be so planted that it becomes consistent. I can't live without God. I can't live. I don't have to always understand what he is doing but I can't live without him. I will not settle for only feeling God on a Sunday morning. I will not settle for only praying on a Wednesday night. When you've been planted, you wake up out of your sleep saying, God, I love you. When you've really been planted, someone hurt your feelings at work, and although you want to say something, you say, God, help me. That's what consistency is. That's what consecration will do. Consecration should have by now changed your conversation. Consecration by now should have changed your outlook on things. You should be able to endure a little bit more because you've been consecrated. We are not regular vessels. I am a vessel that has been resubmitted to God. So let these things happen. Stop chasing encounters and go after the consistency of God. Here's why. God is so consistent. Watch it. I don't have to search for him. He's in everything. I don't have to settle for an occasion. He is in everything. When I'm good, he's there. Even when I'm bad, he's there. God is so consistent that I don't have to settle for occasion. I don't have to feel God just on a Sunday night. I can go all throughout my week and know that God, watch this, is with me. It is the very thing, Malik, that keeps me, is the understanding that God promised to never leave or forsake me. I like this because no one can counsel God out of being consistent with me. No one can change God's mind concerning you. He is so consistent that I do not have to settle for occasion. Consecration will also put you in intimacy with God. It's not just about getting information, but it will draw you closer to him. I need to be closer to God. Can I be honest with you? You cannot maintain healthy relationships without being close to God. Most of you are having issues trying to make friends and in your marriages and all. You don't even know how to talk to your boss. You got to check how close you are to God. Because it's your relationship with God that governs all these other things. As believers, I must be closer to God than I am my paycheck. I know you wasn't going to amen that. I must be closer to God than I am with my workout routine. That you can be consistent with. You won't miss a day waking up to go to the gym. But when it comes to prayer, we need to be out by 8 o'clock. Your job is so good to you that if they tell you to stay overtime, that you're going to stay. But if we call for a special service, you want to know what time you think. What time you think, Pastor? You going to be long? What you going to do? But we gotta love God so much that I want to be found wherever he is, even if it's inconvenient to my flesh. I've got to love God more than my paycheck, love God more than my job, love God more than anything. I want to draw closer to him. James chapter 4, verse 8 says, draw nigh to God, and he will draw nigh to you. Because God, what we've been taught, God is a gentleman. He doesn't have to seek you. He says, if you draw nigh to me, I will draw nigh to you. So if God is absent from your life, it's because you're absent from his. If God is not present in your life, it's because you played hooky enough that he don't know where to find you. Here's what the Bible says. If you draw nigh to God, he will draw nigh to you. That is a promise that God made. Watch this. He doesn't say, if you're perfect, I'll be with you. And we're going to lose some church folk. He don't say, if you don't wear hats and if you just don't. He said, if you just draw nigh to me, I will be near you. If you just think of me more important than anything else, that you want to be in my presence, he makes a promise that he will be with you. I need God to be with me. When you are planted, you begin to grow. Plants grow towards the sun. Watch this. When we are consecrated, where you are consecrated matters, because when I'm planted, I begin to grow towards God. When I'm consecrated, I don't grow towards habits. When I'm consecrated, I don't grow towards what feels good to me. When I'm consecrated, where I'm placed in the right place, when I'm placed in the right position, I grow towards God. That's why my attitude is different. I'm growing towards God. That's why my conversation has changed. I'm growing towards God. That's why I can sit in places where there's hell all around me and still grow towards God, because I'm consecrated. What does that look like? Why is that important? Because whatever you lean towards determines how you grow. Write this down. Whatever you lean towards determines how you grow. Being planted in God will have you wrapped in the illumination of his character, his word. The more you lean towards him, the more you know about him, the more you grow, the more you change. You cannot love God, know about him, and stay the same. Can I be honest? That's a decision, Artis. To tell me you read your word every single day, you're consecrating, you pray, and you're the exact same, baby, you have made a decision to be the same. Because consecration will change you. Consecration will change how you approach people. And I hope that as you're consecrating, you're seeing that your mannerisms are changing. That you are finding yourself in a more patient place. That you are finding yourself in a more happy place. You become better as you are consecrating. This is what it means to be planted. Consecration, I'm almost done, Adrian. Consecration trains your affection towards God. The Bible says, Matthew chapter 6, verse 21, for where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. Let's write this down. I want y'all to live with this for a little while. It is obvious what's important to you. That's what that text says. Matthew 6, verse 21. For where your treasure is, there will be your heart also. What you lean into, where your affection is, it shows where your priority is. Here's why we got to check this. Because God will reveal himself wherever he takes priority. God will reveal himself wherever he takes priority. This is the importance of planting. It says to God, you mean more to me than anything. That's what consecration does. It reveals God because you have made a decision to make him a priority. God is revealed through your intimacy with him. Intimacy is being close to God. Consecration then is not about behavior control, right? We're not being consecrated because what it does, it aligns our heart. Our behavior is only a reflection of our heart. So when you're consecrated, it realigns your heart and adjusts your behavior. Can you say it one more time? When you're consecrated, it realigns your heart towards God, and that will adjust your behavior. Most of us are trying to do it opposite. I'm acting different, but our hearts are not where they're supposed to be. So those things can't marry, and you end up being the same. What you consistently give attention, you will grow affection for. Write that down. What you consistently give attention to, you will grow affection for. If your entire focus is how much money you make, if that's where all your affection is going, it is the only thing that will grow, that you will grow affection for. Love deepens through intentional focus. That's what consecration is. Consecration is an intentional focus. We'll be honest with you, right? It is not always convenient, but it's worth the closeness with God. Today, Regina, we were starving. We scheduled our food so it could be here so that when we were ready to eat, it was there. It is not convenient, cost a little more. We had to do a little priority to it, but it was worth it keeping the consecration. And it will not be convenient. It will hurt, but it will be worth it. It's not always convenient, but it's worth the closeness with God. Last part, one of the texts that I love that shows the closeness of God and how it's illustrated is in the life of Samuel. Write this down, 1 Samuel chapter 1 and chapter 2. 1 Samuel chapter 1 and chapter 2. Read this when you go home. The Bible tells a story about a woman, Samuel's mom, who prays for him after being barren. The Bible says once God gives her this child, she consecrates him to the temple. This takes a level of faith that we do not see. Can you imagine you ask God for a car? When he gives you the car, you come park it here and say it's for the church? It's the very thing you asked for. But Hannah loves God so much that she is willing to sacrifice what she asked for. Can we sit there for a second? She asked for it because she wanted it, but then thought enough of God to give it to him without asking any questions. His mom prays after being barren and gives him over to the temple. This is what consecration looks like. I found it to be interesting, though. She has no idea, Adrian, who Samuel will be. She consecrates him before purpose. Before he becomes the greatest prophet that the country sees, he's consecrated by his mama. Your consecration might not make sense now, but if you trust God, by the end of this thing, watch what God will make you. He has no idea who this man would be, but because she trusts God, that's what consecration is. It is about trusting God. He is consecrated before he even knows his purpose, before she even knows his purpose. He does not start off as a prophet. He starts off as a consecrated presence in God's house. He is not prophetic first. He is consecrated first. He is not powerful first. He is consecrated first. And in order for us to get what God has called us to be, we must consecrate ourselves. Samuel is literally separate from God's use. Samuel does not grow up with kids his age. He does not grow up with his family, right? He has to make the decision that his calling, his purpose is worth anything and everything. This was building relationship before the call. You cannot wait till you've been called to want to get close to God. Does that make sense? You understand what I mean? It is not about you can live any kind of way, and once you finagle yourself into a position, then you get right with God. You have to be consecrated before purpose finds you. You have to be consecrated without even knowing your purpose. There are things that I went through that I had no idea would shape who I am right now. There were things that I tried to resist, but because God knew better, I'm grateful that I found myself in the temple when everybody else was going to the movies. It sounds crazy. It sounds really good. We don't see this type of stuff now. But there were days where Bishop could attest to this. There would be days where when we knew snow was coming, I would spend a night at Bishop's house so that I could be here to serve while no one else my age was doing it. I'm outside with the people who work for the church. I didn't have to be, no one asked me, but I was drawn to being consecrated. I was drawn to being different. I was drawn to being used for God. I loved being in the church. I would go to school and come here after church. Everybody else was doing other things. I wanted to be found in the temple. I just fell in love with not only ministry, but I fell in love with God. I knew that if I could sacrifice, my wife and I were just talking about this, if I could sacrifice my now, it would prepare a better future for me. That's what consecration is. That's what happens to Samuel. He has no idea that he will anoint David, who will be the greatest king, where Jesus comes from the line. He's the son of David. He has no idea about that stuff. You have to make a decision to be consecrated to God before you even know the outcome. Yeah. And most times, it's not even going to make sense. But you have to be willing to trust God. Yeah. Hannah planted Samuel, positioned him, consecrated him. This is how he hears the voice of God. He's positioned. Because he's been consecrated, he grows up in the house. This is where he grows. This is where he shapes. Here's my question to you, and I'm done. What are you growing up in? Where have you been planted? Samuel was in the right place. He was in the right posture, and he was in the right position to be called. God's voice found Samuel because Samuel was near God's voice. One more time. God's voice found Samuel because Samuel was near God's voice. He was serving in the temple. He was asleep in the temple. He was in the right position. Samuel shows us that consecration positions you for relationship with God. Before revelation, before authority, before assignment, there's consecration. You have to be planted in something that even though you don't understand it. This is why being planted matters. As we leave this week teaching, it's imperative that you check your soil during consecration. It makes no sense for you to give up eating. It makes no sense for you to consecrate, but everything around you is remaining the same. You got to change what you're attached to. God help. You got to change where you put yourself. There are some situations, here we go, that you shouldn't even be putting yourself in because you're consecrating. I don't care how familiar it is. When they call you, you say, I am not going there. I can't plant myself in that type of soil when I'm expecting intimacy with God. I gotta be different. Be willing to be pruned. Be willing to be pruned during this consecration. You are willing to be cut during this consecration. Even by things that feel familiar to you, even by things that feel good to you, I am willing to be pruned. If you are looking for a shift, you have to acknowledge that God is your only resource. That's what this consecration is going to build intimacy with God throughout this consecration. The consecration is positioning you to be called and used of God. Consecration is positioning you to be a better version of yourself. That by the time we come out of this consecration, that even your mind will be thinking differently. That you will see yourself differently. More importantly than an assignment, it is putting you back in relationship with God. Consecration proves that you believe that nothing else matters but relationship with God. I want to stay planted in his presence. Make that choice tonight as we are continuing. I am praying for each and every one of you that you continue on this consecration. Don't choose proximity over privilege. Choose listening over noise. Choose surrender over convenience. Make sure that you are proving to God and to yourself that you are willing to make the sacrifice for him. Listen, we love you, Bishop. You coming? You have anything? You good? We love you all so much, and we are praying for each and every one of you that you will continue on this consecration. Next week is the last week of Cultivate nights. I would like to lay hands and anoint and see what else God's going to do a small teaching, and we'll move forward from there. I know that it's been difficult, but it's supposed to be difficult. Anything that's worth it has a little difficulty to it. And if you believe that God is worth it, no matter what, push your way through this consecration. All right, everyone standing.